Promeia is basically Anomaly Evelyn, but cooler. And that's definitely not just a pun. You save your resources for the stun window and spend all of them by holding down your basic attack button. You can dodge with your EX and get a really cool animation with all these camera changes. Double chain is much appreciated on her, not for the chain damage, but for another source of a bloom in the stun window. So if you are already used to Evelyn and her resource management, Promeia is going to feel really familiar for you. Most of her damage comes from the bloom triggers, and Promeia has a lot of ways to trigger it. You can use your chain attack, your ultimate, or spend your resources to trigger a really strong bloom on the enemy. While Promeia's bloom has no difference between attributes, it still uses the stats from the original anomaly to calculate the bloom damage. So you still want characters with good anomaly proficiency and attack on your team to maximize the bloom damage. Her additional ability, which requires another anomaly or a support character, enhances multiple stats for her anomaly damage. Build up after using the EX special, increases frostbite duration for better disorder damage, and a debuff on the enemy that increases the damage of your whole team in blooms, by allowing them to ignore a portion of the enemy defense. That pairs really well with her core skill, which not only gives Promeia anomaly proficiency based on her anomaly mastery, it also gives a team-wide buff that increases the bloom damage. Promeia generates resources by just hitting enemies, but some specific actions gives additional resources. Freeze, Disorders, and Vortex, a mechanic for wind characters, gives an additional 5 resources. Triggering a dodge with her EX special gives 10 resource points, and any bloom on the enemy gives 15 points. Once you accumulate 50 points, Promeia automatically converts it into Trial by Code, this dot on her resource bar. Trial by Code is the one that actually matters. This is what allows you to use her EX special Merciless Judgment, the one that triggers her core skill bloom. To use Merciless Judgment, simply hold down your basic or special attack button after her base attack 5 or some of her special attacks. Promeia will leap back, dealing damage and trigger a bloom if the enemy is under anomaly. Learning how to optimize the resource consumption is really important for Promeia, as you want to make the best use of the stun window. Chain attacks also triggers a bloom on the enemy, but this one is much weaker than other options. The ultimate bloom is a bit stronger, with a 250% multiplier. The ultimate has a lot of build-up, which in most cases will be enough to trigger another freeze on the enemy. Also, both skills quickly chain to basic attack 5, which speeds up your Merciless Judgment. The ultimate also gives Frost Oath, which allows you to use the enhanced special attack without the need of dodging an enemy attack. Simply tap or hold EX after her Merciless Judgment, Chain Attack, or Ultimate, and Promeia will follow up with the enhanced special attack, which has better anomaly build-up compared to the default one. Due to how Promeia works, it's highly recommended to use manual chains in order to optimize her damage potential. With all this knowledge, you can pull rotations like this. You start with Promeia chain so you can trigger the first bloom on the enemy. Cancel the chain while holding down your basic attack button to quickly follow with base attack 5 and the Merciless Judgment. As soon as the Merciless Judgment animation starts, you can switch to another character and trigger another chain on Promeia. Once again, keep holding the base attack to do base attack 5 and Merciless Judgment. As soon as the bloom triggers, use her ultimate for another shatter and a bloom on the enemy. After the ultimate, use EX special to consume Frost Oath and keep holding the special or base attack button to follow up with Merciless Judgment. From here, you can either use another EX special or keep holding basic attack to use base attack 5 into Merciless Judgment. Depending on the remaining stun timer, you can even trigger another bloom with the resource generated through the stun window, but this will leave you with 0 resources and building up everything again can take a while, and it's likely that your next stun will suffer a bit because of this. Now that you understand how Promeia works, let's quickly go over her build so you know exactly how to get the best out of her. For these stats, there is simply no option here. Notes from the chain will be the best option for Promeia, as it provides anomaly proficiency, a bit of ice damage, and, most importantly, anomaly and disorder damage. These are completely separate from elemental damage or general damage buffs, which makes them really strong, and Promeia can keep this with 100% uptime. For the 2-piece set, my personal recommendation is 2-piece Phaeton's Melody. It is not the best in terms of anomaly proficiency, but the increased build-up is extremely helpful for better resource generation. If you don't have good Phaeton Melody pieces, a 2-piece Freedom Blues or Chaos Jazz will be the best option for you. For disc stats, there are no surprises here. As usual for anomaly units, look for anomaly proficiency on your slot 4 and anomaly mastery on your slot 6. For the slot 5, either attack, penetration, or damage works, and you just focus on your sub-stats. But if you're going for defense ignore buffs, such as Suna or Promeia Mindscape 1, penetration gets worse. If you don't have damage buffs on your team or weapon, damage also gets better, so adjust depending on your situation. For substats, once again, nothing out of the ordinary. Focus on anomaly proficiency, attack percentage, flat penetration, and flat attack. Now for weapons, Promeia signature will be the best option for her. It gives anomaly mastery, which means more anomaly proficiency thanks to her core skill. It also gives ice damage and a balloon damage for her, something that is not widely available in the game. If you don't plan on getting her signature weapon, Fusion Compiler is a really competitive option, especially at higher phases, but can lose some value if you're stacking defense ignore buffs on your team. Other than that, since Promeia relies on anomaly mastery, you don't have a lot of good options for her. Angeling the Shell is a decent stat stick, and Whipping Gemini is still a solid A rank for teams that can consistently trigger anomalies on enemies. Just keep in mind that Nangongyu can hurt this weapon performance as its stacks reset after every stun. Early Mindscapes are good on Promeia and offer good value for you. Mindscape 1 increases the defense ignore effect of her additional ability and increases the number of balloons you can trigger through the fight. Mindscape 2 is the best stopping point as it adds a new multiplier to your core skill balloons. It is a massive damage increase assuming you are optimizing the use of her resources on the stun window. Mindscape 3 and 5, as usual, only gives skill levels, and Promeia balloon damage does not scale on her skill level, so nothing much on these two Mindscapes. Mindscape 4 generates more resources for Promeia after she triggers a balloon, and this can translate to extra balloons or more consistent stun windows with a high balloon count. Lastly, Mindscape 6 adds extra balloons after triggering her core skill, but most importantly, it allows all of Promeia's anomaly and disorder damage to ignore 15% of the enemy resistance. For teams, Promeia works really well as a hyper carry, and using units like Yuzuha and Nangongyu can increase your anomaly damage a lot. Since Shatter is not a damage over time anomaly, you're not losing anything by applying freeze on the enemy over and over. You can also focus on the core skill to increase the damage of your other units, such as Vivian. I don't recommend playing Arya with Promeia, as Arya wants the enemy to be stunned, and losing the attack buff for your team can hurt your anomaly damage. And before you ask, it works, but no, I don't recommend you playing Miyabi and Promeia together. The thing feels really weird, and Promeia, as opposed to Sogaku, is not increases Miyabi damage potential. So using Yuzuha and Sogaku or Nangongyu is still the best option for your Miyabi, and so is for Promeia as well. And that's everything for my Promeia guide. Hope this could help you understand the character and how you should build her on the release. If you still have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below or join my Discord server. Thank you so much for watching this video, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.